So my Chinese name is Lin Yuhkai. So this is the name I was given when I was born in Taiwan. This name literally means victorious treasure. So I thought that was a little cute that my parents gave me something that was so optimistic and happy. My brother actually shares the same character in his name for treasure, so I like to think that we're a set of treasures to our parents. Those are the meanings that it has to me and my family. Another cool fact about my name is that the two characters are actually combinations of my mom's name and my dad's name put together to create mine. To people who aren't part of my family, it tells them that I'm an immigrant, that I am not a person who was born in the United States. It's always a bit of a challenge to hear someone struggle to pronounce my name or try to spell it. They always wonder if that's an H or an N, or they wonder why my name has an H in the first place, which is, I guess, more of a stylistic choice. And oftentimes I wonder if it'd be easier if I go by another name. And for a long time I did. I went by Kevin. This was the name I used all the way throughout till middle school. But then after that, I thought about the name that my parents had gave me. And I decided that from then on I wanted to be called Yuhkai, because that was the name that my parents had gifted to me when I was born. My mom in particular has some very odd beliefs. I think they're amusing, but I always find them a little bit silly. For example, when we were getting our first phones, me and my brother, my mom looked at our phone numbers to see what the numbers were, and she saw that our area code was 408. And she was a little annoyed that we had to have a 4 in our number, because in Chinese culture, 4 is unlucky. It's like the equivalent of 13. 4 kind of sounds like the number for death. So that's not exactly good to have it, and my mom was a little hysteric that we had to have that in our phone numbers. Last year, my mom called me, and she was telling me how she had been talking to one of my cousins back in Taiwan, and apparently my cousin dabbles in fortune telling. So my mom had asked him to look into my future and give some recommendations to help me out. And he ended up telling her he should wear more red. When I came home for that winter, my mom already had bought about 5 different sets of red clothing for me. I had to carry an extra suitcase home with me to school. And this was all great. I loved having my mom watch out for me like this, but I never really believed any of these beliefs that she had. I always thought they were a little ridiculous, a little superstitious, and sometimes I would wish she wouldn't be like this. Even in other parts of the household, these beliefs would come up. My mom's cooking is probably best described as practical. I like to think that Michelle Obama herself would love my mom's cooking. It's basically the food pyramid. It's very simple. There's no sauce, there's no secret spices that go into our dishes, no grand Thanksgiving feasts. My mom would often actually call and apologize to me later on in college and say, "I'm sorry, I'm not a great chef. I can't cook you good food." And I would say, "It's okay, Mom. I'm healthy. I'm fine. I love home-cooked meals. It's okay." But my mom still would always have that sort of guilt about not being able to cook anything grand or fancy, or any of the favorite Chinese dishes we would go out to eat at restaurants. But there's this one dish of my mom's that she was always really particular about. It was a soup with chicken and a Chinese vegetable called winter melon. And my mom would always insist on putting ginger in this soup, even though my brother absolutely hates ginger and would basically throw out the soup when he got it. But my mom said that it was important that this dish contained both ginger to go along with the winter melon. So in Chinese culture, for Chinese medicine, there's this concept of hot and cold foods, and that the idea is you need to balance out hot foods with cold ingredients. So in this line of thought, winter melon is considered a cold ingredient and ginger is your hot ingredient, and you need both to balance it out in your body and stay healthy. So no matter what my brother says or complains, or no matter what he does, my mom will always cook the dish with ginger in it. And for the longest time, I always thought this was a little bit silly, you know. I don't know if it's really contributing to my health. Maybe it's just the fact that my mom is so good at making dishes that are perfectly healthy that I've just grown up this way. So I never really believed in that idea, but my mom always insisted on cooking that way. Last year, me and my mom went back to Taiwan to go visit our relatives. They lived mostly in Taipei, which is the capital city. I remember I would spend a lot of my days in my uncle's tailoring store, which was very much like a metal box compressed against all the other shops on the side of the street. There's no door, just a giant sliding metal grate that opens up in the morning and closes in the evening. And I would sit in the store and look out at the speeding traffic going by, hearing the bustle and hustle of people going about their lives in the city. It was such a different experience from what you would see here at Duke University, where you have beautiful grand Gothic architecture. In Taiwan, everything seems uniform. It seems like it's a city compressed together, built out of metal. The air itself smells like rainwater, gasoline, and a little bit of cooking oil. During my trip, there was a temple that was a few blocks away from the store, and I went on a visit with my mom and my aunt. The temple was surrounded by a gigantic wall made out of wood and metal, red and gold. Very different from the gray coloration you'd be more used to if you walked along the streets of the city. The giant doors in the front were swung wide open so that the tide of people could come in and out as they pleased. And the air here smelled different. It was incense and smoke. When you went inside the temple and looked at the buildings, their slanted, elaborate rooftops, decorated with gold and red colors, you would see the small little statues inside of them, these gods, little old men with long beards, funny clothing, and smiles on their faces. And in front of each of these gods, you would have a cauldron of sand. And in the sand, you would see incense sticks standing right in the sand, burning away slowly. And this is how people would pray. They would get incense, they would light it, they would pray to their god, and leave it behind in the cauldron. I wandered around looking at the different kinds of gods, asking which each one did. My aunt pointed out one that was the god of love and relationships, joking that I should probably go pray in front of him. Another interesting one I found was the god of knowledge and good grades. My mom thought it would be a great idea for me to go. But that was the most popular one because in front of him you could see all these sticks standing there, almost like a lawn, slowly burning away. On the side of the temple, there was a furnace, an oven. It was a giant metal pot, and you could just feel the heat coming out of it, burning away slowly. And people would buy these stacks of paper, white, thin, covered in red stamps, and they would take these stacks, open up the furnace, and sacrifice them to the gods. And this is what my mom did. She took a stack of paper, opened up the furnace, and threw it in. And I was like, wow, you're basically almost burning money away. But as I watched the paper burn, the fire licking the edges, crinkling up, working their way slowly towards the red center, I would think about what was going on. And I would think, as a chemistry major, of the chemical reaction. So the cellulose turning into carbon dioxide, the pollution's going into the air. I looked at the smoke and was like, huh, that looks like a smokestack from a factory. But I also thought about what else was going into that fire. I thought about the way my mom looked at it, waiting for it to burn away. And I wondered what my mom was praying for, what she was hoping for when she took these papers and sacrificed them to the fire. I wondered if there was something else besides the paper that was being burned, that was going up into the sky towards the heavens. So I don't really believe in the things my mom does. I don't believe that the way she cooks with ginger is a necessary way of making me healthy. I don't believe in the way that she prays to these gods to make me find success in my life. I don't believe necessarily that you're wearing red is going to bring me good luck in the future. And I think a lot about what it means to be an immigrant in this country. I think about my name, I think about my identity. And oftentimes I realize I forget that my parents too are immigrants. And how hard it must be for them to come to a country they don't understand, to raise children in a world they'll never really be a part of. And I think about this struggle, and I think about why my mom does the things she does, why she makes these silly decisions, these silly beliefs. And I realize that this is her way of giving the help that she can me. As I move away from my parents, away into college, away into my own life, there's only so much that my mom can do to help. And she won't be there for me all the time, even though she wishes she could be. But these things that she can do, these prayers that she can offer, these little fortune-telling gifts that she can give me, is her way of helping out and letting her know, or letting me know, that she's always watching out for me. And I think even if I don't believe in all the superstition and beliefs, I believe in my mom's love for me. And I believe that she's always going to be looking out for her little treasures.